Hi guys, this is Christian from Zac Audio, and today I would like to talk a little bit about our newest Zaquencer update version 1.4. This update adds the features delay and ratcheting to the Zaquencers, and today I would like to show you those features in depth. Let's jump right into it. Okay, the features delay and ratcheting are a new sub-feature of the MIDI control feature that can be adjusted here per step, and basically it's a new MIDI controller that you can select in the global menu. I'll show you. We are at track 1, so let's go into global menu and we can adjust the MIDI controllers for track 1 right here. You already know the MIDI controllers Aftertouch, Pitch Bend and CC, and if we go to the left we can turn those off altogether. If we go further to the left, this adds the new modes ratcheting and delay. So for MIDI controller alpha, let's choose delay, and for MIDI controller beta, let's choose ratcheting. Okay, this is all the adjustment we need in the global menu, so we exit the global menu and we're back to the track menu, to the main menu. Let's start with the delays, which are placed on MIDI controller alpha. Okay, first let's listen to the sequence that we have here. Okay, a very simple sequence, and I will focus with demonstrating the new features on the very first step. Okay, so the way it works, MIDI controller. As with every other MIDI controller, the value goes from 0 to 127. These are the modes that are available for delay and ratcheting. It's basically a lookup table. The thing is, I've tried to divide it up in a way that makes sense, and the way I designed it is that the last digit here, in 99% of the cases, the last digit means the number of repeats. That says if I have a delay now with an 8 here, that means 8 repeats. If we put the 0 here, it just means repeat until the next step starts. Okay, that leaves the first digit as the delay mode. Most of the time, the delay time is encoded in the first digit as well as the mode. For delay, for example, the mode is the same starting from 0 going to 5. It's always the same mode, a regular delay with decaying repeats. And the number denotes the delay time, so the distance between the delays. Let's listen to it. Okay, if I put 14 here, that means delay time 1 and 4 repeats on the first step. Okay, you already hear a nice delay. I can now increase the number of repeats, basically making the delay longer. And if I go to the next digit here, the 2, it means a longer delay time. Here you hear it very nicely, because we have 3 here now, the delays are spaced further apart. It goes up to 5. And the smaller the number here is, the less delays we create. This creates 2 repeats of the note, 1 repeat, 4, and the 0 is just repeat until next step. In this case there's no repeat generated because the time is too long and the next step is already too close here, but we can listen to it for the time 2, for example, so it just repeats until this note is being generated. Okay, let's go back to the mode. I've already shown you from 0 to 5 we have decaying repeats, a regular delay. If we come to 6 until 11, we have basically an inverse delay with the same time settings as before. So 6 would be very close together, a short delay time, and 11 would be quite far apart. always the last digit is the number of repeats, and now it's the mode reverse delay. So it starts with a very quiet repeat and the repeats get louder. Let's listen to it. Okay, you hear it very nicely. Yeah, well, inverse delay. Again, the first digit gives us the delay time. Okay, so much about delays. Now let's jump into ratcheting. I turn the delay off. With ratcheting, it's quite similar, that the last digit is the number of repeats, and the first digit is also the ratcheting mode. Please also refer to the manual to find a description of all the modes in the lookup table. The biggest difference between ratcheting and delay is that with ratcheting, there is no decay in the repeats, so all the repeats have the same volume. So we have delay time 2, 6 repeats. Ratcheting time 1 or 8 repeats. And very fast repeats and the number of repeats. Okay, one thing I need to mention is that both delay and ratcheting are also dependent on the note length parameter. So every new repeat can only start once the first note is finished, has stopped. That means if you make the first note longer, the repeats are going to be spaced further apart as well. It's similar to the repeat time, but the note is being sustained in between. So we now worked with the shortest note length for the first step, 96th note. We can increase that, for example, to 16th or any other value. And we hear also a change in ratcheting behavior. Okay, I'll demonstrate this to you. We have the fastest ratcheting now. Let's make a bit more repeats, 6 repeats. If I increase the note length, you hear that the notes get spaced further apart as well. So both with note length and the delay or ratcheting time, you have quite some variables that you can change for your ratcheting. Okay, now let's go back to ratcheting mode. I started explaining the mode, and with ratcheting it's different than delay because the time is the same, or the mode is the same from 0 to 3, and then at number 4 there starts a new mode, and the new mode means random number of repeats. That basically goes from mode 4 to mode 7, and all these are the same with different times again encoded in the first digit, and the mode means random number of repeats up to this number. So if I have 48, I have random number of repeats with the shortest distance up to 8 repeats per this step. Let's listen to it. I hope you hear this. Well, maybe it's better to be heard with a bit further distance, but sometimes it makes many repeats up to 9, and then sometimes a little less repeats, a little fewer repeats. Okay, so that's basically the mode up to 7, and then at mode number 8, this is its own mode. It means normal ratcheting, so the number of repeats is always the same, this number, but the distance between repeats is random per step. So every time the sequence passes this step, it determines a new distance between the repeats, and places all the repeats at the same distance. Let's listen to it. I think you could hear it very nicely that sometimes the repeats are very close together and sometimes they're further apart. Okay, now with mode number 9, we have regular number of repeats, so always this number of repeats. But this time, the distance between repeats is random per repeat. That means if I have 6 repeats here, the first can be spaced further apart, then the second is very close, and the third is a little bit further. So a nice randomness. Let's listen. So here it's quite different and random to all the other modes before. Okay, now we took this concept a little further with mode 10. We just talked about mode 9. Now let's talk about mode 10. This combines some of the previous modes. So we have random number of repeats up to this number, and the distance is random per step. So just like with mode 8, every time the sequence counter passes the step, it determines a new distance. But this time also the number of repeats is random up to 6. Okay, that was that. And then we have mode 11. And this basically is the most random of all modes. It has random number of repeats up to this number. And then the distance is random per repeat, just with mode number 9, which we saw before. So this time every repeat is not spaced in the same distance, but in random distances, and we have a random number of repeats up to this number. So it basically sounds broken at this part, but it's a very nice random scheme. Okay, so we went up to number 11. Mode number 12 is starts with the special modes. So this now the distinction between number of repeats and mode is broken up for 120, and we have a handful of special modes that are explicitly explained in the manual as well. So let me show them to you. Mode number 120, it says ratchet node values glide up and the distance is 0. So basically we for every ratchet, so now the number of repeats is always repeat until next step, and with mode number 120 the node goes up. You can influence this by the node length again, for example. And now fewer repeats are being generated because they are only being generated until the next step. Okay, very, very nice. We were here. Okay, this was mode 120. Now we have mode 121, which is the same mode as 120, but with the distance 1. Let's compare the two modes. Repeats are spaced very close together, and here the repeats are spaced one further apart. But you can always, just like before, you can also variate the distance between repeats with the node length. Okay, so we talked about 120, 121. So this was glide up, then logically 122 is glide down. And also 123 is glide down with one further apart. Okay, now the funny thing is you can always combine this with a chord setting. This was a single note now. We need the chord setting for the next mode, but I'll introduce it here because it also works with all the modes before. So let's make it a simple chord. And here the whole chord is being repeated, is being ratcheted. Let's check out, for example, the glide up again. Or the glide down. Okay, Now I needed to set it to chord because the next mode, 124, is a mini arpeggiator. Once there's a chord set for the step, the chord is being arpeggiated to the next step. Again, I can variate this with the note length. Or with different chords. And the last mode that's implemented right now is the same. It's also an arpeggiated chord, but with a little bit of further distance. So maybe if I set the note length back again, I have a little bit of arpeggio going. It's interesting, if you set the clock divider lower, then the distance between the steps is bigger and the arpeggio is being longer. Just like that. Okay, then it's also very interesting, I thought. I just want to demonstrate very quickly the new chord modes that were also introduced with 1.4, because they're nice with the arpeggiated together. It's starting from 301, going to 311, and it's basically just a simple interval. You see, it's a 2-note interval. So you have a second or a third or whatever you want. This is basically the number of semitones between the notes. Okay, so I think I'm finished. I've shown you all the new features, and thanks for watching, and have fun trying this out at your place very soon. Bye bye.